You've just taken a huge step towards breaking free from chronic UTI symptoms for life. This particular video is a pitch for my UTI Freedom Formula program. And before we get into, before we launch right into the video section of this, no one likes to guess when the offer's coming or when this training becomes less value than pitch. So if you like what I show you, below this video, you'll find a link to my full program, UTI Freedom Formula, that I put together for you to start implementing all on your own. And it is $240. Okay. If that program's for you, awesome. I'll tell you more about it towards the end of the video. If it's not for you, like if you're not looking to spend that right now, you're like, dang, that's a freaking lot of money. That's too. Watch the video anyways, because you are going to get so much value and so much insight into what's really going on and what's really causing your chronic UTI symptoms that this video is going to be well worth it, whether you opt in for the program or not. All right. Since you're here, I know that you're seeking relief from UTIs, and chances are you're very skeptical that that can be achieved outside of Western medicine. So I'm here to say that is absolutely possible. All right, we'll get into a little bit more about me here in a minute. All right, there are two types of people out there who are struggling with chronic UTI symptoms. There are those who choose to live life limited by symptoms. These people come trapped in the death spiral of chasing infections and ultimately getting diagnosed with interstitial cystitis. Because if you haven't seen the UTI death spiral yet, there's actually a link to that graphic below. But it looks like essentially you're chasing UTI symptoms, get some standard urine cultures taken. At some point, you may or may not chase microinfections, and at some point, you're going to have a cytoscopy and get diagnosed with interstitial cystitis. Once you get diagnosed with interstitial cystitis, there's little relief. In fact, I would say microscopic amounts of relief that are available at the cost of very invasive procedures. Now, it's true that some people some people who are living their life limited by symptoms move forward, and some of them even experience significant relief by living a super limited life. Like we're talking crazy strict diet, we're talking this UTI symptoms being constant or interstitial cystitis symptoms being constantly on your mind because ultimately you're always fighting to stay just one step ahead of symptoms. And quite frankly, it's no way to live life. And then there are the limit breakers. These are the people who are unwilling to live life limited by their symptoms. These are the people who know there's a way to live life abundantly and completely symptom free while eating what you want and not constantly thinking about how to stay ahead of the symptoms because quite frankly, they're so far in the past that you just won't worry about them anymore. These are the lucky few, the ones who are truly unbound and liberated from worry about when that next flare is going to happen. These are the people who take the time to understand what's really causing their symptoms, fix the cause, and watch their symptoms disappear as fast as darkness in the morning light. The only question is, which type of person are you? If you stick with me for the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to become a limit breaker. I'm going to tell you a quick story. Before I do, let's just be clear about what this is not. So this is not selling you some magic bean supplement. This is not another nutrition program. This is not super complex. In fact, it's not super complex to understand, and it's not super complex to implement. And the great news is, even if you don't understand it, it doesn't matter. You just follow the steps and it's going to work. At the very core, this is truly something surprisingly simple. All right, I started experiencing chronic UTI symptoms when I stopped hormonal birth control, and I did what most people do. I went to the walk-in clinic. suffered through the lecture on proper feminine hygiene, trying my best not to roll my eyes during that lecture, just to get what I was after, which ultimately was a prescription for an antibiotic. For me, the antibiotic provided relief while on them. And then as soon as that round of antibiotics ended, I would inevitably wind up with UTI symptoms again. And so I continued this cycle for a while where I'd go to the walk-in clinic, take the standard urine culture, it would come back positive. I'd get my prescription for some antibiotics, start the antibiotic round, and be symptom free while I was on it, only to experience a relapse once it ended. Now, at some point, those standard urine cultures started coming back negative, and I fell deeper into the hole by chasing microinfections. My battle continued for a full year and a half. So over that time, I tried chugging cranberry juice. At one point, I was drinking half a gallon of cranberry juice a day. I took tons of D-mannose capsules. I was taking specific probiotics that are recommended for UTIs. I was reaching for the azo. And here's the thing. I'm a pharmaceutical research scientist. The active ingredient methenamine in many over-the-counter UTI medications is converted into formaldehyde in the blood. Formaldehyde is cancer causing. I knew this. Like before taking the methenamine, I knew this. But here's the deal. It was worth it to me to get that relief. It was so worth it to get the relief that I was willing to take something that I knew would cause cancer to get the relief. How screwed up. As I mentioned earlier, I also chased microinfections, and I was working with a healthcare practitioner to get more rounds of antibiotics when those microinfections were found. And I truly thought that the microinfection path was my salvation. I thought that was the path to my salvation. What happened instead was that the healthcare provider I was working with kept prescribing harsher and harsher antibiotics, typically for longer and longer duration, every time I got tested and came back positive with a microinfection. And finally, when she prescribed me a 28-day supply of an antibiotic so harsh that I was convinced I'd wind up with C. diff and maybe even dead by, the end of that 28 days. That was when I was finally shaken to my core enough to listen to that still small voice inside me, which said very clearly, you realize you're practicing the definition of insanity, right? In that moment, that was when I drew the line in the sand. That was when I decided no more. That was when I opened myself up to the universe and I said, you know what? Like, I know I am not getting the answers that I seek, following the same path that I'm following. I don't know where to turn, but I'm going to trust that you'll show me. And like the universe does, it delivered. Within 1 week, I held in my hand the missing piece that I'd been overlooking the whole time. Like the piece that I'd been struggling and struggling to find, the piece that I just didn't quite have the right Google query for to uncover on my own without turning it over to the divine. So within 1 week of making that key discovery, most of my symptoms dissolved. I no longer had urine. My pee no longer smelled weird. It no longer burned when I was peeing. And even though the urinary urgency hadn't totally dissolved, it was dramatically reduced. I was so thrilled with my own experience and was so convinced that this experience was backed by evidence in peer-reviewed journal articles. I spent the next several months with my head down deep in the research, piecing together the full story of what had happened to me when I started on birth control that led to this experience of suddenly developing UTIs for the first time ever in my life. And once I had that story all put together, I started writing about it. I started sharing it with other women. And the next thing I know, testimonials started flooding into my inbox. That really got me fired up. I want to show you how to do the same thing for yourself to start experiencing immediate relief from urinary urgency and burning while peeing, which are, in my mind, the two worst symptoms of chronic UTIs. I'm willing to bet that this is the first time you've ever heard about what I'm going to share with you. What's actually holding you back from finally getting rid of your chronic UTI symptoms is this: your body is struggling to convert the food you eat into energy. Your body hit the emergency stop button on your metabolism, and all of a sudden it can't meet energy demands, at least not in the way that your body prefers to meet energy demands. The reason why this struggle showed up is because you're dealing with a hormone imbalance, specifically of the hormones responsible for converting the food you eat into energy. So these particular hormones have this particular list of hormones does not include estrogen or progesterone, although estrogen and progesterone had something to do with them going out of whack. Said another way, UTI symptoms are just that. They are merely symptoms of your body's inability to meet energy demands. What does this cause? Well, it causes your body to switch from its preferred fuel source, which is glucose, aka carbs or sugar, blood sugar, to fats. Now, this may sound great. You might even be thinking, well, where's the problem with that? I'm down for burning fat. I've been trying to burn fat like the whole time. As a matter of fact, I'm gaining weight right now. I can't believe it. Are you sure I'm actually burning fat? Well, here's the thing. When you preferentially make most of the energy that the body needs from fat, it puts you in a keto state. So if you've heard of the keto diet, they talk about ketosis a lot. This means that the body's making ketones as a waste product, and waste products have to get eliminated from the body. So ketones pass out of your body through urine, sweat, and breath. If you've ever told that your breath smells quote unquote fruity or weirdly sweet, or if you've noticed a sickeningly sweet odor to your pee or to your sweat, this indicates the presence of ketones in your pee or sweat, actually just your body in general. Ketones cause the exact same symptoms as UTIs. Now, this is really important. I'm going to repeat it. Ketones cause the exact same symptoms as UTIs. That means that ketones cause cloudy urine because ketones are not that soluble in the urine. Ketones cause weird smelling pee. Ketones irritate the bladder lining, which causes that urinary urgency. And while you're peeing, ketones are also irritating the lining of your urethra, which is causing that burning while you're peeing. Now, you may be thinking, my doctor's tested my pee and says there's no ketones in it, or my doctor's tested my pee and says my it's normal, or my doctor's tested my blood work and says my glucose levels are fine. Okay, here's the deal. There is an ocean between what your body knows, which is when you start experiencing symptoms, and what Western medicine is actually able to detect. In this ocean is where disease states manifest. This is where disease pops up. And eventually that disease will become so bad that Western medicine can detect it. But in the meantime, imagine this is a spectrum where this is a healthy body. This is a body with symptoms. And then this is a body with symptoms so severe, Western medicine is finally able to detect it. You always want to be on this end of the spectrum. You want to be over here towards health. You don't ever want to be in the body that's experiencing symptoms, and you definitely don't want to be in the body experiencing symptoms that can't be detected yet by Western medicine. Okay, my urine didn't show ketones either. Here's the thing. I'm a pharmaceutical research scientist, and that means that I've worked with a variety of organic solvents. I have worked with acetone. Acetone is a ketone. I know what acetone smells like. I told every single one of my doctors over that 1.5 year period that, hey, my pee, I've used at least one of these phrases, usually more than one. My pee smells weird. It smells like acetone. It smells like ketones. Do you think I'm in ketosis? I think I've got a problem with sugar because my pee smells like acetone. I think I've got a problem with blood sugar because my pee smells like ketones. Do you think I'm in ketosis? And every single one of those doctors said, well, your lab works fine. And I let myself be gaslighted. I let myself be limited. I let myself be held back by those reassurances for a 1.5 years. Still to this day, that is one of the things that hurts me most. And looking back at it, that I let myself be tethered by those statements. When I made the necessary changes that allowed my body to switch from fat burning to carb burning, my UTI symptoms cleared. What are those necessary changes? Well, as I mentioned earlier, when you struggle to convert food into energy, this signals a hormone imbalance of 3 key energy conversion hormones in the body. We're going to discuss each of these hormones one by one now so that you understand their role in causing UTI symptoms. We're starting out with insulin. Insulin is the key hormone that allows the body to use carbs as fuel. So if you imagine each and every cell in your body as being a house, and what do houses have? Well, they have a door. They have a front door, right? And that front door is locked. Well, insulin is the key for each one of those cell doors. When your cells respond in a healthy way to insulin, it's easy to unlock the door, fling it wide open, and let glucose, aka blood sugar, aka carbs, right on into the cell. Once glucose is inside the cell is able to use that glucose for energy. For women especially, there are many times in our lives when we become insulin resistant. In an insulin resistant state, the cell doors don't unlock easily. It's as though the lock is jammed, like there's something going on with it. So there's plenty of insulin around. Insulin's in the keyhole, but it can't get the lock to unlock. Like it's in, but nothing's happening. Well, this keeps glucose, that keeps the door locked, and it keeps glucose from entering the cell, and that forces the body to switch from carb burning to fat burning. What are the times in a woman's life when she's most likely to become insulin resistant? Well, onset of menarche, so in our teens, when we first start having our periods, getting pregnant or giving birth, starting and stopping hormonal birth control, like either of those things, entering menopause, so that perimenopause menopause shift. Why is that? What's unique about those times? Well, there's two things unique about those times. Those are times when estrogen levels change dramatically. Those are also times when women are most prone to develop UTIs for the very first time. Needless to say, estrogen impacts the body's ability to use insulin. The next one, thyroid hormones. Thyroid hormones are generally considered to be the hormones that control metabolism. The really interesting thing about thyroid hormones is that they impact how the body uses insulin. When you have low levels of thyroid hormones, and here I'm going to go ahead and say thyroid hormones are T3 and T4. TSH is not a thyroid hormone. TSH is not produced by the thyroid. TSH is produced by a gland in the brain. Has no relevance to what your actual levels of T and T4 are, has no relevance to how well your thyroid is actually functioning, even though people pretend that it does. All right. So when you have low levels of thyroid hormone, again, T3, T4, it makes you more likely to become insulin resistant. What's interesting is that as women, we're more prone to significant changes in levels of the thyroid hormones during major hormonal shifts in our life. Like, you'll recognize these when we enter menarche, give birth, start or stop hormonal birth control, go through that perimenopause menopause transition. Why? Because estrogen impacts how your body uses thyroid hormone. The third one, cortisol. Cortisol is one of the many hormones made by the adrenal glands. Cortisol helps regulate your diurnal rhythm, so your daily rhythm, and is the hormone that makes it possible to get up and go in the morning. It's also the one of the hormones that controls whether or not you're able to fall asleep easily at night. Cortisol has a very dynamic pattern throughout the day and night, and maintaining cortisol levels in line with that pattern, not just willy-nilly all over the place, not just trying to press it all the time, like we're wont to do in today's society, but keeping it in line and in tune, in harmony with daily rhythm is super important to your overall health and well-being. Cortisol has far-reaching impacts that go well beyond just metabolism. Healthy cortisol levels also impact your immunity. So, of all three of these hormones, cortisol is the one that is most challenging to work with people to get that shift in mindset that is so needed in order to reestablish healthy cortisol levels. And it's all mindset with this one because there's so much misinformation out there around cortisol in the world. Okay. Uh, when there are three hormones at play in the body's energy balance, how do you go about rebalancing those hormones in order to get rid of UTI symptoms? Well, this is where it's surprisingly simple. It takes ensuring that the body is getting enough of the essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that support hormone balance and support metabolism. It takes restoring insulin sensitivity. This is done through small tweaks. We're not about dramatic overhauls. We're not about unsustainable shifts. We are about small tweaks that are going to give profound impact. So small tweaks in diet, small tweaks in exercise, small tweaks in lifestyle that promote insulin sensitivity, restore insulin sensitivity. And then we're syncing up the daily rhythms, your daily rhythms or your lifestyle habits to support healthy cortisol levels. The better news, you don't have to get all things right to start experiencing relief. When I first started down this path, I got relief by focusing just on restoring insulin sensitivity. And that alone is what helped Marissa and other women like her too. Here's what Marissa said. In 2023, I got 7 UTIs in 9 months. I was missing work, bedridden, constantly having stomach aches, nausea, and weight gain from taking antibiotics every month that were messing up my gut bacteria. My doctor recommended that I get a cytoscopy to take a biopsy of my bladder lining. And for a week or so, I was actually considering it because I didn't want another UTI. And then I found Brandy. Quite literally, I have not gotten a UTI since. This is compelling evidence. This is just one of the many women I've helped find relief from chronic UTI symptoms. Now, if you're still here and this video is getting you excited about the possibility of breaking free of UTIs and you're wondering just how to implement what you've heard here today, I want to do something special for you. Below this video, I've given you access to register for the UTI Freedom Formula. This is a full 14-day program that includes, here's what you get with that. So you are going to get a daily email for 14 days that give you key insights and actionable steps to take to support breaking free of these chronic UTI symptoms. So over the 14 days, we are painting a picture of what's really going on with thyroid, insulin, and cortisol, and how to bring all three of these hormones back into balance. But before we even get into this 14 days of emails, as soon as you register for the program, you are going to get a checklist of those essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients necessary to kickstart your metabolism. Because we've got to acknowledge that emergency, stop on your metabolic switch, and flip that metabolic switch back to on, back to the thrive state. So that's what we're doing, that checklist with the essentials that you need. And again, these are not snake oil. These are essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that the body needs. And we want to make sure you're getting enough of them, because when you are in this, you're basically in an energy crisis. When your metabolism is when your body's hit the e-stop on your metabolism, you are in an energy crisis. And so it's kind of like if you've ever had a well and you needed to prime the pump, it's kind of that way. So the well's gone dry. We've got to prime that pump, get water back in the lines in order for all the spigots to start working again. It's the same way. When your body is in energy crisis, we need to kickstart your metabolism. And to do that, we've got to be sure you are getting enough essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. And during this time, during this energy crisis time, your body often demands more of these than you would normally need. Now, these are still, once again, like essential for every body on the planet. These are not just essential for you right now. These are essential for everybody on the planet. In this moment, you need more than most people. Okay. So that's what you are getting as soon as you enroll. You get that checklist. You're also getting a list of the 3 things to avoid at all cost in order to start reestablishing that hormone balance. Those 3 things address thyroid, insulin, and cortisol, like the things we need to stop doing right now to help get those hormones back in balance. Are these for life? One of them is. The other 2, not so much. The other 2 are right now. That's the other. Your body is always on a spectrum of wellness. So what you're able to do today is different than what you're able to do tomorrow. So it may look stricter in the moment than it is long term. All right, so that's the other thing you're getting. You're getting these 2 checklists, and then for 14 days, you're getting an email that contains once again, the insight as to what's going on, how to restore that hormone balance so that we're able to sustain UTI freedom for life. Because this program is not about just it includes immediate relief from UTI symptoms. We're about sustained relief for life. And with that, we really need to look at all 3 of these hormones, and we need to deep dive into all 3 of these hormones. So what about the end of the 14 days? Okay, first of all, the good news. This is a daily digestible email, right? Like you don't log into any special app. You don't have to like do any of the things. You just check your email, open your email, read through it, follow the steps for that day. It is later, so you'll keep getting the information. At the end of the 14 days, what happens? At the end of the 14 days, you get a check-in. Okay, at the end of the 14 days, there's an opportunity to schedule a one-on-one call with me where we'll talk through where you are now. And this week, you should be symptom-free. That's right. At the end of 14 days, you should be symptom-free. If you're not, this is your opportunity. Even if you are, this is your opportunity to schedule a call with me. We'll talk through, I call these breakthrough calls. We'll talk through what symptoms you're still dealing with. What are your next immediate actions to break through those symptoms and get rid of them? And in addition, on starting at day 14, you start getting the same set of emails again with additional bonus content. So if you've ever done any kind of habit formation, chances are high, it takes 21 days to form a habit. And at the end of that 14 days, you'll start getting the same set of emails again, additional resources to go deeper into the subject. So this is reinforcing what you've already seen. This is seeing it a second time to instill it deeper within your body, because once again, and your mind, because once again, we are after UTI freedom for life. Okay, so that'll be the next round. And again, those emails include additional resources. So these are additional videos, these are additional blog posts, these are additional articles to go to for more on that day's topic, your day 1 through 14 topics. There You'll also have bonuses as well. There's a few checklists that I didn't mention for the sake of time, and you'll have a wellness tracker if I have not mentioned that already. A downloadable wellness tracker to track your symptoms, track your progress throughout this program. So, this is the UTI Freedom Formula is available to you for just $240 because I truly believe this is the best step for you if you have been struggling with chronic UTIs, even if you have a diagnosis with interstitial cystitis. This is going to help. Okay, hands down, full stop. This will probably be the last program. This should very well be the last program you ever need to break free of chronic UTI symptoms. All right, I'll see you inside.